Ultimately, what is content? Content is effectively data in this concept that we're talking about here. If you really boil it down, it's kind of ones and zeros, and that's what flies up and down the fibers, and that's what we record, and that's what we shoot. So it's data. And in the real world now, there's a transformation happening in the big world of data, and when you look at it from an executive financial level, there's some changes happening in what data is meaning to companies. And by what I mean by that is this. Ultimately now, data is really seriously now becoming an asset on your balance sheet. Now, in some content can become assets. Content isn't necessarily automatically assets. We've talked about it before. It's a very loose sense. We could shoot the hell out of everything, but actually not actually shoot anything that was particularly usable. This is all about investment, and how do we do this kind of investment, and what strategies do we have? So we need to maximize this investment. Some of it we could do by possibly considering we widen out where our audience base might be, in international reach. And I think it's important that part of our investment should be in production itself. We shouldn't underestimate what quality is, because if we can recognize the value of something that's actually crafted, we will be creating what is something that is much more closer to an asset. Those that do the best out of this are doing it intelligently. They're shooting intelligently. They're thinking about things before they go out. Let's put together now the strategy to how you could ensure that this investment really has the best chance. So, number one, storage. That's a bit funny. We've sort of gone straight back to technology. Storage is actually really, really important. We've spoken about the way Adobe Anywhere, well, that kind of works, and you can edit anywhere, can't you? Well, the reason you can edit anywhere is actually your media is actually sat on some storage. In this case, it's here in this building, and that storage is serving up to you wherever you're editing. Remember, we have to store wisely, because you will save money if you do store wisely. The other big thing is managing your media as well. So, in the techie world of techiness, there are jokes that are available. This is probably the best one, so don't hold your hopes up. There are two types of storage: new and full. I told you it was a good one. You buy new storage and it's empty. 2 weeks later, it's full. So, how do we do it? We manage our content. It comes as a shock to everybody. We've got our storage, we're going to start editing. Ooh, crikey. Now, we're running out of space. Can we have some more space? We've got to do this. It's really urgent. And we keep filling up the bucket. So, manage the media. If we manage the media, then we can actually keep on track with our investment, if you like. Metadata, unbelievably important. There is no value in a diamond that you can't find. And metadata is unbelievably important in this storage game as well. The efficiency by which you can find stuff really defines your ability to use that content. If you invest the time and the money into actually making sure that the cataloging of your media, the way you then end up using it, and the way that you actually are able to describe it once you've created other assets from it, means that this stuff is at your fingertips. Super, super important. Is use big data too, that bit we talked about before. It's so important to try and wrap some of this other data that you have available to you about the fan base, about what's happening on the websites that you have, and try and tie that up also to the media that you're generating. The other one, join forces. We know we're under pressure from budgets. It is an impossible thing to suggest that stadia and venues around the world are going to be able to just do their own thing and create everything themselves. And I don't just mean in content terms, but actually the systems and the structures under which, and the infrastructure that all this needs to happen. This is very much Garrett's proposition here, and that's why we endorse, and that's why IMG is partnering up with ADI as part of this too, because we believe there is significant value in joining forces. There's no point falling into the trap of trying to reinvent or persist with ineffective tools in the environment when you could engage with a progressive system that actually, by virtue of many people being involved in it, brings down the overall barrier to entry in the first place, and the interesting bit is the incremental cost of doing more, ultimately then, the next phase. An example of this, IMG, we represent, in a representative level, the libraries and the archives of 40 of the world's biggest sporting federations. For years, these have been dusty tapes sat on shelves. In the last 3 years, we've been doing an awful lot of work to actually transform what was probably good content into definitely good content, accessible content, actually stored in a data center environment in the world of LTO in a digital form that was actually usable by the world at large and not just locked away in a vault somewhere. That's the difference between a content and an asset. But we've grown it now to the point where it is now a digital archive and really represents a significant volume of holdings. So the IMG Studios asset management system is the big archive. It is a data center world-class archive sat in the middle of Stockley Park and effectively sits there and represents everything that a federation needs. In conjunction with them, we help sort through and give a commercial pipeline so that we can say, okay, let's look at your commercially viable assets. They're the ones we've got to look at oiling the wheels for the rest of maybe your digitization processes. We launched the IMG SVA, IMG Sports Video Archive.com, the centralized global federation content site. That is a front-facing commercial portal which gains its power from the actual main archive itself. The federations themselves have also seen the opportunity of a direct portal of their own for their broadcast licensees who actually want to see not just the commercially viable content, the real fancy stuff, they want everything else round the back as well. So we've got portals opened up for direct licensee access. But the site looks like this. The most important thing that you understand, though, about it is there was a particular tack we took on this. This is very much a results-based archive. I spoke to you about the importance of metadata. We go through this stuff with a fine-tooth comb about the tables, the results, all of the data that we have available around that, because a lot of the people we feel in the professional sports world who are doing research will often come in. They won't just go Rooney and search on that. They will actually come in, look for a particular season, look for a particular team, look for a particular player. You can, at the very top right-hand corner there, just stick anything you like in there and it'll find it for you, as it does in Google. This is a Rolls-Royce site. It's probably worth me just giving you an idea of some of the content that's on it. Joined up. Why do I say joined up? Joined up because for each of those federations who want to have the ability to commercialize their content across the globe, the cost of the investment to every single one of them to produce an attractive, data-intensive front end that leads you into the high-resolution content is challenging. And for each of those federations to do it on their own is a bit nuts, really. And we have the main archive sat back in the background in the big data center. So in effect, joining forces with the federations, lowering the barrier to entry to the individual ones, means that overall there's the opportunity for other federations too. There is now a lower barrier of entry for them to join in. They can be on this site. So joining together means we lower the barrier of entry to this. I'm not suggesting that in terms of the stadia and the content producers of the volumes we're talking about now would actually engage in the Rolls-Royce version that I've just shown you there. There is a way we can protect our assets, those assets that we're happy with, because remember, the real issue about something like the Adobe Premiere and Anywhere and the EVS, once we've filled up that available storage, it's highly available spinning disk storage that we have here. This is the way we can do it. Part of what we're doing with ADI is effectively a club class archive. Something that looks entirely like your own archive, branded, skinnable by you, and with an optional connection potentially into the Federation archive that also has levels of the content that you have the rights to get to. Also, crucially, along the lines of the other services that ADI offer in the way live TV works, is that it's a no CapEx model. It's a service. The club class archive then basically means that you have a centralized asset base for all of your assets. Now, that can include, obviously, clearly the video and the audio and all of that, but logos too, anything. These systems can actually hold stills and audio, radio, anything you like. Kind of how it works. So here we are in our stadium. We're running with Adobe, and we're actually editing off the edit storage, the stuff we're talking about here that you saw working yesterday. It's your storage that's resident here. And remember, as Geraint said before, we have fiber and high-speed data connectivity between us at IMG Studios at Stockley Park and ADI here as well. And there's the option where, in effect, what we're capable of doing is effectively pushing content into the archive with its metadata, so you can find it again, and there it will sit, ready to be served up back to you. And here's the interesting thing, going back to that thing I mentioned about quality, if you are generating quality content, if you saw during that promo that we just played, there were a lot of shots of not just the stars, not just the trophy lifts, but there were a lot of shots of interesting things that a lot of people want that can't really go out and shoot. People are after content that describe things, that show success, that show failure, fans' reactions, happy fans, sad fans, jumping up and down fans, you know, that is content. And if you're generating that content, then there is every opportunity that you can also put that content up on the IMG SVA site and have a clip sales strategy that starts to bring in revenue against your assets in the background, whilst you're actually then sweating those assets that you're making as you go along during the course of the season, when you're actually providing direct fan engagement right at the point of time in and around the stadia itself. Those assets are so important. Treat them as assets. Think about the fact you do need to keep hold of them. Don't do like my mum and dad does and shove it all in the loft, all in black bags, no labels on it, and with a direct strategy and understanding of what you want to do and a potential eye towards creating content that maybe one day other people as well might want to buy off you, it could be an interesting additional armory for you. We try to bring down the overall barrier to entry of this and also give the opportunity to incrementally add interesting developments onto it, rather than taking that entire burden yourself and running into the anguish of trying to achieve it. So that's it, really.